Hello again everybody, Boyd back with you, and welcome to part 2 of our Polar Lights 350 scale Enterprise refit build-up, guys. We're working again on the saucer today. We promised you we would be back on this episode talking about doing our bridge modification so we can get our nice floodlight effect here on the front of the registry name here on the front of the saucer. So let's get started here by talking about what we're going to do, guys. I'm going to tighten up on this shot here for you. So you see that what we have here is we have these little ridges that are located here on the top of the BC deck. And the way this kit is set up from the factory, as you can see, we've got this little bridge piece that sits on top of here. And you can see that each one of these little ridges here represents a little opening in the gap in each one for the opening in the windows. The forward one and the ones that are facing slightly off to the sides here. So in order to move this bridge forward and raise it a little bit, we've got to eliminate these ridges here, and we're going to modify our bridge and then do some construction work on the top piece here, adding some strip styrene onto that to recreate that when we move it forward. We also want to make sure that when we move it forward we don't go too far here, because you have these little details on the top of the BC deck here that are painted in white, these little kind of notches here with this blue area. So we want to do this just right. The whole reason for this, guys, is you see we have this little ledge right here that if we put some lighting in this area right here to try to get it to come down and light this forward area here, we're going to have this little ledge that's going to interfere with that. It's going to block the light and make a big shadow here right at the very start of it. So we want to work our way around that. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to mark these little slits right here on my bridge, so that once I remove those little ridges there, I'll know where my little slits need to go, where I need to glue my styrene on to the bridge part here, which will allow me to recreate this. And we're going to go just a little, slightly bit higher, maybe about that much, by adding our styrene on here, and I'm going to take you through this whole thing. And that's going to give us our ideal location for the bridge. Now, I'll put up on the screen here real quick, guys, some pictures from a guy over at Sci-Fi Model Action named Garberon that built one of these refits a year or so ago, and he did this modification, which is the same thing that I did on my refit. And the pictures here will show you that in actuality, the studio model, the bridge is actually a little bit farther forward than it is here on the Polar Lights model kit. So the kit is actually incorrect. And you'll see that the model has been superimposed in the shot over the picture of the studio scale model, and you can see the difference. Alright everybody, back with you again, and you can see I've made my little modification here on the top of the bridge. I'm going to tighten up on this for you here. And you can see what we've got here is we've got the bridge sitting down on there nice and flat now, and we've got our marks in place. Now I've removed these ridges here that were on the top very carefully with my grinding tool, and we've got this now that we can set our bridge just a little bit farther forward, and I'm going to locate this exactly where I want it, keeping in mind that we've got these little details here on the very front part of the BC deck with these sort of little slots that you see painted in white in here once we add our blue detail. And I want to stay just behind those so they don't cover those up. And I'm going to locate my bridge here in this exact spot that I want it. And it looks like we've moved our bridge forward maybe about 1/8 of an inch or so altogether. And we want to make sure we're kind of lined up from side to side here. And I'm just going to mark this with a pencil now, going around it, making sure that things don't move here and across the back roughly, and make this little line. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be coming in with my Dremel tool, actually my grinder again here, and I'm going to remove most of this material. I'm probably going to take out to the edges of these circles at least here, but I don't want to go too far over to the edges because I want to leave a little bit of meat in there for my window ledges and things like that. So I got a little the look of a little bit of a gap in there. If you guys are familiar with the top of the bridge and how it's supposed to look around the edges of the windows. So I've got this marked now. Let me go ahead and go off camera again really quick, and I'll get this material removed out of here, and we'll come back and show you how that looks. And then we're going to actually start working on adding some styrene strip onto our upper bridge assembly here. Be right back with that in just a second, guys. So here we are again, everybody, and you can see I've been working away on removing the material here. I'll get you a tight shot of this. You can see that I've removed the center section out of there, which is going to allow me to bring some nice ambient lighting up inside that with some LEDs, and once we mount our bridge here, we'll have some nice light casting out from the sides. Our forward area here is going to be illuminated with our SMDs, which are going to be our flood lamp effect, coming up onto the front part of the saucer here, which will be the where the registration number is located, as we talked about. Here at the rear, we left enough room to run another LED up through the back and mount inside of our rear part of our bridge here for our upper strobe light, and another LED which will illuminate the docking port there at the back of the bridge. So we've got all that worked out. So what we're going to be doing now, guys, is we're going to start working on the bridge itself here, and getting this styrene strip mounted onto this. Now for this, I'll be using some CA glue and some kicker here, which will help me to do this pretty quickly and just be able to kind of rough it in place. I've cut a piece of styrene strip out here, and let's go ahead and start doing this. This is going to be very simple, guys. You don't have to worry about this being perfectly level at first. Now, what I did is I took a piece of strip styrene that I knew had a nice straight edge on one end, and I cut that with my pair of scissors here, and if I don't have that perfectly straight, I'm not going to really worry about it. I want my straight edge to go up about, on the bottom of the bridge here. Let me get you just a little bit closer to this. And I want to be able to lay this in here, and then we're going to glue this little piece in place, making sure that we got kind of a 90-degree angle. Once I've got all this mounted on and I've got it solid, I can take a grinding tool and I can grind this entire thing down to get it the right height that I want, and make it all line up. And then we'll put the same piece across the back once we put our rear bulkhead in place. So let's mark this here really quick, and we'll cut off a little strip of styrene, which will be a location where our first sort of little edge of our window slot is going to go here. And don't worry if you don't get this right the first or a couple or one or two tries here. You can always start over again. I'm just going to kind of hold this up here and do a rough check on this to see if we're looking good here. And I like where we're going there, so I'm just going to dab a little bit of CA onto this. The trick to this is to try to get it flush and to try to get it so that it's sitting in a nice 90-degree, so it's sitting nice and straight up and down on the side of our bridge here, so that we don't have to do a lot of filling and sanding. And as I'll talk about that in a minute, we're going to be adding some filler on this just a little bit to kind of hide our seam. But you can see I've got this first little section in place. Just a little bit of zip kicker there has allowed it to... I'm going to be going back and reinforcing this with some better glue, but this is just to give us a rough assembly of this thing. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to add our second little strip in place here now, which is just another small segment here. And let me go ahead and kind of just hold this up and get a little mark on that. Okay, and as we work our way towards the front here, we've got to get a little bit of a curve to this, but it's not too difficult to do here. Being we're using, this is some 040 styrene, in case you were curious about the thickness of that. It's fairly easy to work with, and we're going to get this lined up just about right here. And go ahead and want to make sure we don't overshoot our gap here. Okay, we want to put a little dab of CA right there. And what I'm doing here, guys, is just making sure that I'm fairly close to being flush on our front surface there, so I don't have to remove a lot of material from that. and get that just right here. A little tiny adjustment to that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit this with the kicker now. We've got that one locked down in place. Again, it's looking kind of crude and kind of rough right now, but trust me, this will all come together really nice, guys, when we get a little further along here. And let's make our nice next section. You can see this is going along pretty fast. Not too bad. This will all be worth it in the end, guys. We'll get a nice look to our bridge here, and we'll get the correct looking flood lamp effect. And this has been one of the more popular questions that I've received quite a bit on the channel here about how to do this. So we thought we'd have a nice detailed run through this for you here today. And I'm just going to take my finger and put a little bit of a curve to this, just so we can kind of come around the horn there and make it blend in really nice. And we're going to dab our CA back on here again. Alrighty. And again, if I'm not perfectly centered here, I'm just a tiny little bit over on this one on this side. So what I'll be doing there is I'll just take my hobby knife and shave just a little bit of that off. And then we'll shape it all in. Like I said, working with this, guys, it's just a little bit of time and patience and a little bit of adjusting here and there, and you'll get it to where you want it. And okay, we're going to add our final strip on here. Let's go ahead and mark this where we want to do our cutoff at. Okay. But once we do our grinding and everything like that, guys, and shaping with the hobby knife, and then our filler and sanding and all those other little things, we'll get this just right. If you guys saw my first refit build and how that one turned out, it worked out very, very well. If you guys remember that, I got a little bit too far over here on this one. We need to come back ahead just a little bit here. Scoot ahead for me just a little bit there for me, will ya? Okay, pretty happy with that. And I'm going to dab just a little bit more CA on the back side of this. And hit it with our kicker again. Okay, so you can see what we've got is a really rough assembly here. Let me tighten up on this for you. I can keep it in the center of the screen there. And let me bring the saucer back into the picture here for you guys. I'll back this back up, and you can see what we're working towards here. So now we have our basic structure that we had before, but we can see obviously that it's going to be quite a bit taller than it was before, so that's not a worry. We're going to go ahead and start using our grinding tool here to grind this down and get this quite a bit lower. And then I'll be making some adjustments here with my hobby knife, like I said, to open up this slot. I can see that I came over just a little bit on this side. We're a little bit short on this side to get our rectangle window there at the front. But I'll make those adjustments and we'll come back and show you how it's looking, guys. Be right back with that in just a second. Hey again, everybody. Well, I'm back with you, and you can see we've been working on our upper bridge assembly piece here. I've been working on sanding this down a little bit. A little trick I wanted to show you here, guys, is I mounted this piece of 180 grit sandpaper with some sticky back on my flat surface here, and in order to get all my sides of my walls here nice and even, I've just been sanding this back and forth on top of this, and I'm sanding all the sides down nice and even that way. And you can see we've got our little slits worked down to just about how they looked when they were on the bridge originally. We'll be finishing this off with adding some little bit of putty on this to clean up some of our edges and things like that. But let me bring the saucer back in here for you. And we'll have a little test fit on here and show you how nice this is working out. Things are doing really well on this. And you can see that, get everything lined up here really good. You can see that, bring you back in tight on this again, guys. That things are working out really nice on this, and it's going to turn out just exactly like we hoped. We've got our original look back on our bridge there. We preserved all the details on the outside, and we're now going to have enough room to mount a couple of small SMDs, which let me grab a couple of those really quick for you guys and show you what we're talking about here. We're not going to be doing that in today's video, but in the next update we'll show you going in and actually mounting these. And there's a couple little tricks that I'll be showing you on how those work. These are the SMDs that I'm talking about. These are rated for 12 volts. They'll run from anywhere from like 6 volts up to 12 volts DC. These are in regular white, and they have their own built-in resistor. Basically what I'll be doing here is coming in from the back side and gluing these in place with these projecting out the front just right, so that we'll have to do a little practice aiming with those to get that floodlight effect to come out of there just the way we want it. But trust me, this will work really nice, and we'll get a nice flood lamp effect coming out of the front of this model now. We've got everything going really, really well on this. So the next video will show us doing that. I'm going to finish up here today by applying a little bit of squadron putty, filler putty on this bridge assembly here, so that we can let that dry for us overnight, and we'll be able to come back tomorrow and do some nice fill sanding on this and get all of our seams cleaned up on it and make it look all nice and pretty. And then we'll be doing some light block painting from it on the inside, which will block our light from showing through it once we apply all of our high-powered lighting in this. And I'm just putting a little dab on it here and there to get my edges covered up and build out the sides a little bit, so when I sand all this down we'll have a nice flush looking assembly, and we'll make it look just like it did when we started off here before we did all these modifications. Well, here we are again, everybody, and you can see I've been working on our bridge part here, and I've primed it all up and everything. I've sanded down our filler that we used on the edges where we attached our styrene strips, and I've got it all looking really clean. I've gone and primed the saucer top and bottom on the inside, as I'll show you here in a minute too. I've done all my light blocking on the inside. But let me tighten up on the bridge here for you, and you can see that we've got a really nice look going on this. You can't tell the difference at all between the original part now. But what we've done is we've moved it forward slightly, and we're slightly higher, probably less than a millimeter higher than the bridge originally was, and we've got a nice look going on there. I'll turn this over really quick here, and you can see that we've got our two little SMDs. If I can get a little bit closer to this without losing my focus there, guys. It's barely on the edge of my focus, but you can see that I've got two little SMDs that I've worked in there in the front. And I just used a couple dabs of CA glue to lock those in place. I had to do a little bit of practice aiming to get those aimed exactly where I wanted them on the front of the saucer here. And I'll go ahead and turn this on for you. And you can see that we're getting a nice effect here. What I'll do is I'm going to walk over real quick and turn off the overhead light so you guys can get a view of the flood lamp effect. And this is the same effect that we achieved on my refit here that we built a while back. And I'm really happy with how this works. So let's kill some more of these overhead lights here for you. Okay, that gives you a pretty good shot of that. And you can see we get a really nice flood lamp at the front there that's going to light up our nice registry there really well on the front, and it looks really realistic just like it did on the movie version of the ship. So of course, keep in mind that we're also going to be adding some more light into the side windows here, which we're going to be getting by, as I mentioned, we cleared out this area here on the center of the BC deck, where we're going to be bringing some light up in there, which is going to give us our nice ambient light, and of course light all of our windows around the BC deck and the officers lounge as well. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. We're going to come back on the next one, and let me turn some more lights on here for you so we can explain what we're talking about. We're going to come back on our next video in the build and show you what we've been doing here on the bottom side. We've gone here and light blocked this entire thing. We've got it all ready to go, so we're going to start installing our our LEDs around the thruster ports here, and we're going to install our LED strip lighting for our windows and our LEDs for our blinking nav lights. And so we'll be working all that in. Just one more final parting shot here. I'll show you the bridge loose from the model here so you can see the detail on it, hopefully. We've got this filled in the back side here, and what we've done is we've added an extra little strip of styrene on the bottom side of our bulkhead here, and to make this all nice and even, and this thing turned out beautiful. So we're ready to go with that, guys. Things are looking good. So we'll be back the next time, guys, for another round here from TrekWorks, and we'll be getting into more of the saucer work. It's coming along really good here, guys. So we'll see you for the next one. So take care out there, everybody, and happy modeling, you guys.